Good morning, everybody, and welcome to my little podcast. This is my 8th podcast episode. My name is Meg, and I am a fully qualified yoga teacher, a beautician, and a masseuse. Before I hit record for this podcast, I got the biggest, when you get those excited butterflies. And I love that for this podcast. Honestly, I was sitting here and it's the kind of butterflies that you get before you're about to, I don't know, go down a really big slide or something like that. When you're a kid and you get those really happy, excited butterflies. I love that for this. That makes me so happy. And I realized on my YouTube channel that I've had 11,000 people listen to this podcast, and it's only been going for a couple of weeks. Um, and like I said, I'm only on the 8th episode. So that to me is absolutely insane, that people want to sit and actually listen to my voice for starters. So if you have been listening to this podcast, thank you so much. Um, yeah. So let's kind of dive in what I'm going to be bringing on this episode. I'm going to be talking about getting into meditation. So we're going to keep this pretty basic. If you've been listening to my other episodes, I've been kind of going through how to go through a wellness journey or starting out bringing some more wellness into your life. And I am a big believer in meditation and how important it is for you, and also how good it is for you. So that's kind of what I want to talk about here, because I think a lot of people hear meditation and they automatically go, no, I can't do that. It's too hard. Because when they think of meditation, they think of some person sitting in complete quietness, and they're for hours on end just sitting, not doing anything, and in a complete meditation, and it's not that, and that isn't necessarily for everybody. Meditation is a very you can go a lot of different ways with it, I think, is the best way to put it. You don't have to be somebody who ends up meditating for hours on end and completely closing off your mind. There are so many other ways that you can meditate without having to do it at that level of extremity. So, I want to talk about the benefits and a little bit of science behind meditation in this episode, and also my story and how I became like able to meditate and meditate quite easily, and different ways that I've learned to meditate and my favorite meditations as well, and also some starting tips. I think my story will be able to cover that anyway, because I started kind of without realizing it, and the way I started just made it kind of flow very easily and quickly, but you'll see what I mean. So yeah, I guess I will see you on the other side. Hi, my name is Meg, and you are listening to the Wellness Musings with Meg podcast. I am a fully qualified beautician and yoga teacher who has studied and worked in health and wellness since 2017. I have been obsessed with wellness my entire life and have always wanted to share my passions more. If you love health, wellness, and yoga and want to learn more, this podcast is for you. I will be bringing you all things wellness, from diet and lifestyle to beauty tips and tricks, and of course, yoga as well. So grab yourself a green tea and find a tranquil spot, and let's jump in. So I've been meditating now for probably, actually, I don't know how many years, but I'm trying to think when I learned. Actually, it was years and years ago, way, way before I became a yoga teacher, probably even before I started doing yoga. To me, back then, yoga and meditation were two separate things. Now I know what I know. When you start learning yoga properly and you're doing more than just the asanas, the physical side of it, yoga has 8 limbs. If you go back to, I think it was my second podcast episode, and I talk a little bit about the 8 limbs of yoga, and how I got into yoga. But basically, you have your 8 limbs. So you've got your yamas and niyamas, which help you to ways to approach life and how to kind of navigate in the world around you, I guess. And then you have your asana, so physical practice. And then you have your pranayama, which is breathing techniques. So those are your first four. From there, you have 4 different stages of meditation. So, this just emphasizes how important meditation is in yoga. It's something that yoga is more about meditation than moving your body. The emphasis should be on meditation. Everyone's going to have a different yoga journey. Everyone's going to want to practice yoga differently. If you're someone who just wants to work on the physical side, fair enough. I'm not here to tell you how to do your practice, but if you're learning yoga properly, you will be doing a lot of meditation more than anything else. You have your pratyahara, which is kind of withdrawing all of the senses, dharana, which is then taking your attention onto one thing, dhyana, which is an actual meditation, which then can lead to samadhi, which is kind of your ultimate state of consciousness, or what some people will call enlightenment. So, yeah, meditation is very important if you're learning yoga. But just before I came in to do this podcast, I thought I'd do a little bit of research on the science and the benefits behind doing meditations. Excuse me, I personally have never really done this before, other than kind of, you see the basics, and people will put something online or a post online that says science says that meditation will help reduce stress or anxiety. That's pretty, we can all kind of assume that you're calming the mind for a bit of time. It's obviously going to lead to you being less stressed and less anxious. And I think because I've done it for so long and seen so many benefits in myself, I've never really felt like I've needed to know the science behind it more or look at the science more, because for me, it's done such a brilliant job that I've not felt like I've needed that clarification of scientific fact. But I thought, if people are starting out and they might need a little bit of convincing, let's have a look at the science behind it. And it actually blew my mind. I was so amazed at how many health benefits meditation had. I knew it was good for you, but I don't think I realized quite how good it was for you. So obviously we know reduces stress, reduces anxiety. It's been shown to improve your mood, which that I can 100% vouch for. I think it was maybe my last podcast episode, Wellness in Spirituality. And I talk about every day I will wake up in the morning and I'll do a meditation. And I can tell in that kind of few minutes sometimes of just doing a meditation that if I'm having the worst day ever, meditation will always improve my mood by about 50%. And I actually sit and do what I call like a mind or a word dump pre and post my meditation. So I've had some days where honestly I feel like the whole world is crashing around me and I'm having the worst morning ever. Sometimes there's not even a reason for it. Sometimes I just am having an emotional morning, having a difficult morning. And every single time I'll do my word dump, I'll then go into a meditation, and then I'll do another word dump. And you can, every time, guarantee I'm going to feel at least 50% better. So the fact that science is saying that it improves your mood, I 100% can vouch for that, because I have literally witnessed it in myself. If I'm feeling good, I'm going to be 50% better. If I'm feeling bad, I'm going to feel 50% better. It always, always makes me feel so much better. But it then talks a lot about how it can then help with depression, which again, I find very fascinating. And apparently it can even help with chronic pain. It can help relieve chronic pain and the depression within people who suffer with chronic pain. So being a masseuse, I have had people that have had like fibromyalgia and things like that. And that to me is really interesting, that they're saying that scientifically meditation can help with relieving pain symptoms, which is just insane. It says it can help with promoting healthy sleep patterns and better sleep, which again, I can kind of see that. Sometimes I will meditate before bed. If I'm having a night where I can't sleep, when you have those nights where you're just laying in bed and your eyes are like open and you just cannot fall asleep, I 100% will just, go into a meditation. Even if I'm laying there and I don't sit up, I'll just try and go into a meditation. And that helps me to get to sleep. But also, yeah, I would say that promoting healthy sleep patterns, it definitely helps. Definitely helps. And this I found fascinating because, again, so many people suffer with insomnia. And so the thought that something as simple as meditation or trying a meditation could solve your sleeping issues rather than turning to medication or things like that. I just like the idea that if it's not something you've tried, it's worth trying if you're struggling to get to sleep or to stay asleep. It boosts your cognitive skills, which I think is probably because when you meditate, your mind will wander off, which is completely normal. The strength in meditation is bringing it back. So I can see how it boosts your cognitive skills because it's going to help you to focus in. It also says it helps to enhance your self-awareness. Again, I would 100% agree with that. I've probably learned more about myself through doing meditations than I have doing anything else, especially if I'm doing yoga, like asana yoga, so physical yoga, and kind of meditating at the same time. Um, so basically being very present in the moment and really focusing in on exactly what my body is doing rather than just going through the motions of movement. I definitely feel like I'm more connected to myself in that than anything else. It lengthens your attention span. 100% can see how that happens because every time your mind wanders off in meditation, you bring it back. So that is a skill that you strengthen. So I can 100% see how that transfers across into everything else and lengthening your attention span. It generates kindness and compassion. Again, I can 100% say I agree with that because often, some depending on what meditation you're doing, you will contemplate something. Sometimes the intention behind your meditation is to contemplate something. And one of my favorite meditations is to send somebody love. And one of my absolute favorite meditations is to send someone that you are maybe struggling with love. So someone who's hurt you, someone who may have upset you, someone who you maybe don't get on with so well, sending them love, which is can be very, very difficult, but I love that. And if you can send love to somebody that you might really not like, then you can love everybody. So I think that I completely agree with that. Another thing that was really fascinating is it said it may help to fight addictions, which I think is insane. That's incredible. You think how many people end up, going to rehab and things like that. And it's insane that meditating can help with addictions. I personally have never had any addictions, so I can't say whether this has helped or not, but I can understand, I can see. So, because you are redirecting your attention when you're meditating, that's then saying that that's how it can help with addictions because you're redirecting your attention onto something else. Whether that's true or not, like I said, I can't vouch for that. I've never been someone, I definitely don't have an addictive personality. So I can't relate to that, but that is interesting to me. Another thing was that it shows that it lowers your blood pressure. And research has shown that this works better in older people or people who already have high blood pressure before they then start meditating, which I think is interesting. Again, I'm someone who has really, really low blood pressure, and that's genetic. I don't think that is to do with meditating. Who knows? Maybe it's lower because of meditation, but I'm not sure. I think it might be hereditary. Um, and it also shown, and this to me really resonated with me, but it may help with reducing age-related memory loss. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I actually lost my grandfather end of last year, and he suffered with dementia. So that was very hard to watch and to go through. And I mean, bless him, he always had a smile on his face. Even I didn't see him towards the end. I was meant to see him the day that he passed away. Um, yeah, we didn't know how long he was going to have left. Anyway, I am redirecting onto something that I don't need to go into, but it was hard for me to continue to keep seeing him, and it was really difficult with someone who's got dementia. when they don't know who you are anymore. And it's really hard, really, really hard, because I almost felt like I was making his confusion worse. So anyway, when I read this, it really resonated with me because I just found it so interesting. So it was saying that it can improve your attention and clarity of thinking, which is what meditation does, and it keeps the mind young, which is quite interesting. Um, this wasn't written in this paper that I read, but I know as well that there has been research that shows learning something new in old age, so keeping up that cognitive growth and keeping your mind going, that has been shown to help with dementia and Alzheimer's. So again, if you're someone who's never ever meditated and you're getting a bit older, this was interesting that you could learn meditation, you're learning something new, and it may help, which I found very interesting. That sort of thought process. I was like, yeah. Meditations with mantras and chants with motions of fingers heightens performance on neuropsychological tests, which was again very interesting. And it can help with people with dementia and also people caring for people with dementia. Many meditation styles help to increase attention, memory, and mental quickness, especially in older people. And I do think, yeah, someone who had somebody in their life with dementia, I do think meditation helped me a lot. Like I said before, I used to do a meditation, or I do meditations where I send love to somebody. And I loved the fact that when my grandfather had dementia, he may have not known who I was, and I actually live quite far away. I live a good kind of couple of hours away from where he was. I loved the fact that although he didn't know who I was anymore, and he didn't really know who anybody was, but he was very like a content person. He sort of sat and I used to every morning think of him, and I would imagine I was sending him love, and wherever he was, he may not know where that love's come from, but I would imagine in my brain that he is sitting there receiving that love. And we all know how it feels to get that rush of happiness, that rush of love. That's what I was sending him, and it made me feel close to him without actually being there with him. Oh, I think I'm gonna have to change the subject, because yeah, something I've not really ever talked about actually, and it's all coming out on a podcast. And like 1,000 people have been listening to each episode. So yeah, let's move on before I start crying down the microphone. So those are some really interesting kind of sciencey facts. So if you're someone who is maybe on the fence, doesn't think they've got time to learn meditation. Oh, sorry, it's my puppy just squeaked. Yeah, for someone who doesn't think they have time to learn meditation, or maybe doesn't think it is that beneficial, I just hoped that bringing a bit of science and the benefits behind it would kind of help, just to show you how amazing it really can be. And hopefully, if you're struggling with something, you'll look at that and go, oh, I'm struggling to sleep. Maybe I'll try giving meditation a go. So I'm going to go on to my little story and how I got into meditation. And before I learned meditation, I definitely wouldn't even know where to start with it. I think it is something that unless you're taught how to do it, it's very hard to just jump straight in. And a really good tip to begin with is to listen to guided meditations. At the end of this podcast, I will let you guys know an app that I use, which is brilliant. So yeah, that I'll give you the name of that. And yeah, I think it's really important to have guided meditations to begin with. But my story, basically, I had a client turn up. I was working in a spa, and she turned up. And I've always found that people who I've needed, the universe has always brought me through my massages, through my massage clients. So yeah, I was working in the spa, and this lady came to me and we just clicked. We got on so well. I still do to this day. This was years ago now. I'm talking like maybe, so how old am I now? Maybe, yeah, like 8 years ago. And we just got on so well. And she was a mindfulness teacher. So we came to the conclusion, she was like, look, why don't we do a swap? So you come around mine and I'll, give me a back massage, and in return, I will give you a kind of guided meditation or a mindfulness class. She just set up like an 8-week mindfulness program to teach people how to do mindfulness. So that's what I did. That was what we'd I think it was every week I would go round there, every couple of weeks I'd go round there, give her a back massage, and she would give me this 8-week program of mindfulness. And I still to this day have the 8-week mindfulness program in one of my folders. It's quite nice to go back to. So that's kind of how I started. Mindfulness, I think if you want to learn massage, mindfulness is a great place to start. Mindfulness is even a good place if you want to stay there. So if you just feel like you want to do a little bit, but you don't really want to progress into doing like proper meditation, mindfulness you can do anywhere, at any point, at any time. And all it is noticing what is going on at that moment of time that you're doing it. So if you're washing up, you're noticing the smell, you're noticing the feeling of the water, you're noticing the sounds, you're noticing the temperature. If you're eating something, you're noticing the smell, the taste, the texture, the colors, the way the light hits whatever you're about to eat in your hand. You take everything and you just really focus in on it. And you don't necessarily have to do this when you're doing an activity. You can sit in complete silence. And this is normally how I get when I do like shavasana at the end of my yoga class. This is normally how I kind of get people to practice it a little bit. They're just sort of dipping their toe into the meditation side, in that I will basically say to them, notice how your body feels, notice the temperature, notice your breathing, notice the temperature of your body coming in and out, notice any sounds you can hear, any smells, any feelings or sensations, like just noticing everything in that present moment. And that's kind of how I started and how I get people to start from mindfulness. And as you get better and better at mindfulness, you can then start to come into a meditation. So I always, whenever I go into a meditation, especially if it's going to be for a long time, I get really comfortable. There was one meditation that I heard years ago, and they used to say feather your nest. I love that. So I always kind of say feather your nest, get nice and comfortable. And then from there, I will get people to bring themselves into the moment, working on a bit of mindfulness. And I get them to like relax their whole body. So as you're coming into this meditation, or as you start to come into more advanced meditations from mindfulness, I always start off, you listen, you think, you listen, you notice sounds, smells, tastes, temperatures, colors behind your eyes, or if your eyes are open, what you can see around you. Go into that. And then from there, you'll start to relax the whole body. So I kind of let the head get heavy all the way down the face. I scan all the way down the body. Again, just noticing what you can feel when you're kind of relaxing down the body, and noticing if there's anywhere that feels tense or tight. Notice your feelings, your emotions, your breath. Again, I then start to come into pranayama a little bit. So I'll get people to maybe do little different things with their breaths and work on a different pranayama. But yeah, that's kind of how I started, was mindfulness, and then from mindfulness coming into a longer meditation. So I'd sit there, come into the moment, and then I'd start to focus on me, and then I'd start to do things like this meditation of sending love to people. So I'd think of someone and then I'd send them love. Imagine it's literally shooting out of my heart like a pink color. Sometimes I imagine there's a bright light over me. Depends what I want out of my meditation. If I want something where I'm benefiting other people or I'm thinking about other people, I'll do that. If I want something that's going to work on me a little bit more, I will think about that. And this is where guided meditations are so good, because everybody has a very slight different approach, and everybody has kind of a different way of helping. So that's kind of how I started, was mindfulness, and then just kind of added on and added on. And the beauty of meditation is that you don't necessarily have to um, you don't have to do one thing. So you don't have to go, right, this is going to be a meditation where I send love to people and that's it. No, you can do a bit of that, and then maybe you could, there's another meditation where you smile with your entire body. So you smile with your face, but then you're also smiling with your heart. You even smile in your liver, like your whole body. You just imagine everything is happy, everything is smiling, everything is glowing. You can do, like, you can kind of mix and match. But again, if you're not used to trying and different meditations and listening to different meditations, if you're completely new, the best way to start, I think, is to start with following different guided meditations and see what ones you click with. Listen to it and see what ones you listen to and go, oh, I really like that idea, that's such a sweet idea, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna remember that. Like, remember little comments or words that they say within the meditation and how it makes you feel and how you react to it. And as time goes on, you'll start learning it, especially if you listen to that meditation more than once, and you can kind of go from there. So that's a little bit into my story, I guess. Yeah, like I said, started off with mindfulness, grew and grew and grew. And as I started then learning yoga, I then started doing a little bit more into the pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana. But I wouldn't say I do masses of it. I really like to kind of yoga, each limb of yoga you could spend a lifetime doing, and I'm quite content in the knowledge that in this lifetime I probably won't reach samadhi, which is fine. I'm okay with that. So I just like to do what I feel like doing in that moment, and do what meditations I feel like I need in that moment to get me through each day, rather than focusing on the big goal, which is, I don't know, for me, I can't see it happening in this lifetime, and I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I just like to do, I just like meditating because it makes me feel good, and I don't feel like I need more. But simple tips to start, like I said, mindfulness is a really good place to start. If you can get yourself on a mindfulness course, brilliant. If not, grabbing books. There's a really good book which I should have brought down with me and had it right in front of me. Maybe I'll go find it and link it in this video. And that's a really good book to kind of start learning 8 weeks of mindfulness. But books are a good way to start. Podcasts, my mindfulness teachers podcast, I will ask her if she's happy for me to link it, and I will link it below. If you want to listen to her stories, her journeys, she's a very, very fascinating person. So worth having a listen to. I think she's on TikTok as well, so I'll speak to her and see if she's happy to. For guided meditations, the best app I have ever used is InsightTimer. And the reason I love InsightTimer is because there are literally thousands, thousands of guided meditations, and they're all free. You can pay for InsightTimer if you want to, but it's an app where, if you are in a position where you don't have any money, you don't have the money to pay for it, but you really want to learn it, InsightTimer is brilliant. I'm not kidding you. They literally have meditations for every single emotion, place in your life. Honestly, you type it into that search bar, best believe it's coming up. It's there. From and they are, just go and download it. And this isn't endorsed or anything. This is just the best app I've ever used and I've ever found. And I just love how it's free, because so many other apps, where if you want to actually get good quality meditations, cost a lot of money. And I'm somebody who for a long time hasn't had money. And especially when I was younger, I didn't have the money to spend on other apps. I'm not going to name and shame, but I did not have that money. And I think every single person should be entitled to learn meditation. I think if everybody in this entire world meditated, we would live in a lovely world. If everybody learned yoga in this world, there would be no problems. There'd be no hatred. There'd be no, it would just be such a nice place to live. So I love that InsightTimer is free. So definitely go and have a look if you're interested. And yeah, just get started with some guided meditations. Don't feel like you need to dive in like 20 minutes, half an hour. Start at just bringing your mind into the moment for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and then let it go. One thing that I was always told when I was learning right from the beginning, that the skill in meditation isn't sitting there thinking of nothing. It's every time your mind wanders, you bring it back. So every time you're in a meditation or every time you're practicing mindfulness and your mind wanders off and starts thinking about, what am I going to have for dinner? What am I going to wear tomorrow? Bring it back. Bring it back to that moment. And that's where the skill is. That's where the skill in meditation is. So it doesn't need to be a case of sitting there in complete dead silence, completely shut off from the world and just thinking. It doesn't need to be that. It can just be completely awake, doing a job, but bring yourself into that moment. And if your mind starts wandering off, bring it back. What can I smell? What can I see? What can I feel? Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. That is where the skill is in meditation. From there, you can then start to go into more of like shutting yourself off, sitting cross-legged, doing the whole picturesque meditation of completely shutting yourself off from the world and focusing on you, or just meditating completely. Like, you can always add on to your meditation, but to begin with, just focus on the now, and that's the most important thing. I hope this video helped. I really hope this video has encouraged some of you to try meditating if you haven't already, or at least guided you to feel like you know where you could start or how to start, and made it feel less daunting. I feel like so many people talk to me about meditation and they're like daunted by it, and it is not something that you need to feel like is an impossible task. Anybody can do it. Even if you just stand there and breathe for a second, you're bringing yourself into that moment. If everything's too much, you can breathe. And that's another thing I love about meditation, actually. You can always breathe. You can always bring yourself into the moment. It could be a moment of complete chaos, but you can always breathe. You can always stop. You can always just in your brain just go right and take a breath and just breathe. So yeah, 100%. If you're interested in meditating, just start, because it is one of the best things you can do. I've noticed a huge difference in myself and my life ever since I started meditating. And yeah, if anybody does have any questions or anything, drop a comment below this video. Anything I can do to help to get you started, or even if I can't help, if I can find someone else who can, just drop me a comment. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, like I said, I can't believe like 1,000 people have been listening to some of these episodes. It's just mind-blowing to me. So thank you so much, and I look forward to talking with you again. Thanks. Bye.